tonight is Kristin Arnold. Kristin holds an MBA, a CSP, a CMC, and a CPF. Kristin's just been elected to the President of the National Speakers Association of the United States. And if that's not enough, as a high-stakes meeting facilitator, trainer, and keynote speaker, Kristin Arnold has worked with thousands of senior executives, project managers, and team leaders in Canada and the United States, challenging their traditional notions about teamwork. She is known for her concrete approach to teamwork and a treasure trove of practical concepts, tools, and techniques her clients can apply immediately to see positive results. She's been featured in numerous publications such as Harvard Business Update, US Today, and Selling Power. Kristin is recognized as a leader in communication. She knows what it takes to lead, facilitate, and participate on high-performing teams. Kristin is the author of several books, and her latest is Boring to Bravo. Kristin, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
So, Kristin, now you've been a pioneer throughout your life. Tell us about your early career and how you've gotten to the point where you are today to be a leader of the National Speakers Association.
I was one of the first women in the Coast Guard Academy, and my mother basically said, you know, they're opening up military academies to women, and wouldn't that be a great idea? And I went, that sounds interesting. So I read all the catalogs, and I went, I think I want to go to the Coast Guard Academy. And that's kind of been the way it's been throughout my life, is I identify something I want, and I go, I think I'm going to do that. Now, with the National Speakers Association, somebody else tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should do that. And I went, okay, does it hit the trifecta? And for your listeners out there, whenever you say yes to these things that are voluntary, it should hit the trifecta in that, number one, it's something that you're passionate about. Number two, it's going to be good for your business. And for me, I talk about teamwork. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to be a team of one, so the National Speakers Association is a great learning laboratory. And that also, that you think the association that you're going to be working with, or the other person, is going to get a win too. And so when it hits that trifecta, when the client, when your business, and you personally, it all makes sense, then that's when you say yes.
I'm an expert in public speaking because you really give some very practical, down-to-earth, usable advice.
I do, for people who are in the corporate marketplace or professional speakers, about how to make your presentations more engaging and interactive so that you're inspiring people to action. And I come from speaking from a facilitation background, and so I just kind of have a natural bent that you should include people in the conversation and connect with them and care about what they think. And so I just started chronicling a whole bunch of different techniques, and that's became my book, Boring to Bravo.
Speaking of that book, how did you decide to write that book?
Well, you know, I did it as a research project, just of my own hobby as part of NSA, and then I did it as a breakout session here in Atlanta, as a matter of fact, and also in San Francisco. And the feedback was really, really positive, and a couple of publishers actually approached me and said, you know, you should really write a book about that. And I went, And then when I realized I was going to be president of the National Speakers Association, I thought, you know, what a great way to carry the message, not only to our NSA people, but to the media. And so what's really happening right now is that there's a lot of buzz about the book because I'm NSA president, and buzz about NSA because I've just written a book. And so it's really a very synergistic win-win for everyone. So the book is actually written with a corporate presenter in mind. NSA, I love everyone at NSA, and my intent is that we use this as a reference material, but it's not my intent to sell to other speakers. It's my gift. And so as I go to other chapters and speak about Boring to Bravo, that, you know, it's a legacy to leave behind, and anything that I can do to help our fellow NSAers is just my pleasure.
So, Kristin, what do you think is the biggest challenge for presenters today?
I think the biggest challenge is to make a presentation about what your audience wants to know and needs to know versus making it all about you and telling people what you think that they should know. You know, it's one thing to think conceptually, well, it's not about me, it's about them. And really, it's about them. But it's really, how do you know what they want? And you really have to do a lot more pre-work nowadays, and with all the technology tools at your disposal, you should be querying people and interviewing people and blogging and getting a sense for what do people want to know in your presentation, and then delivering on that versus speaking about what you think that they should know.
Speaking of blogging and such, how do you think a speaker can use Twitter effectively to promote their business?
Well, I think Twitter is a great one tool to help promote business, but Twitter is more about just getting the word out, and Twitter is about the media finding you. I might be wrong. I don't know, because I'm just getting into it. But I think the social media aspects are tremendous. But it's about connecting with other people, but it's also about connecting to the media. But more importantly, I suggest that you use Twitter as a Q&A mechanism. So let's say you're giving a presentation, and like for example, we're doing NSA Georgia. So NSA GA, you put a hashtag in front of it, NSA GA, and then anybody who's got a question, they can put on Twitter the questions, and you can chat back to them either later or have someone in the room it's called an ombudsman, to take a look at those questions and then to feed those questions to you. Or you can take a look at them at the break, but there's lots of different technologies that you can use to help support your presentation as well.
Your book, Going to Bravo, is full of great tips for speakers to up their game. Can you give us a few of those little secrets?
You can ask a really compelling question, an engaging question. And what a lot of speakers do is, because they're so afraid of the silence, they answer it. And that's called a rhetorical question. It might be engaging, but it doesn't really invite participation. So when you ask a really good question, shut your mouth. And then let the group respond to it. It might be a straw poll, it might be a shout out, it might be answer the question to your neighbor, but there's lots of different ways that you can get the audience to help answer that question without you answering the question for them.
Your book also addresses different generations. Can you tell us how would a baby boomer address an audience full of Gen Xers and vice versa?
I will tell you that the Gen Xers and the Gen Ys have different tolerance levels for being talked at. So suffice it to say that we're of a generation that will comply. We'll sit and we'll listen to whoever's up there, and we try to be gracious and listen. And if we're being talked at, we still sit there and put up with it. The younger generation, they won't. They'll take their 2 feet and they'll walk out, or they'll Twitter about you behind your back, or in front of
your face.
Or if you have a Twitter fall, if you're so brave to have a Twitter fall and all the Twitter comments are going on behind you. But it's interesting because all of us like to have that participation. But I think the younger generation is actually dragging us boomers into making that kind of the expectation. That's the norm. And I think for professional speakers these days, you are seeing an expectation that you do more than just give your polished speech, that you really take the time to get to know your audience so that they know that you care, you want to connect, and then you want to have a conversation with them versus just talk at them.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening and taking time out of your busy schedule, and we are looking forward to your leadership this year at NSA.
Thank you so much.